My name is Daniel Grant, and I was married to Emily for 2 decades. We built what people on the outside called a perfect life, a comfortable home in the suburbs, 2 children who never lacked for love, careers that brought respect, if not riches, and holiday cards that painted the illusion of unwavering happiness. But illusions, you see, have a way of cracking, especially when the past comes back not as a memory, but as a wrecking ball. Chapter 1. The phone call it started with a funeral. An old college friend, Mark, died unexpectedly. He was the kind of man who once lit up rooms with his loud laugh and off-color jokes, back in the days when we were young, wild, and deeply unsure of our futures. I hadn't spoken to him in years, but something inside me twisted when I heard the news. So, I went. Alone. Emily said she had a migraine. That didn't surprise me. She always disliked Mark. The funeral was subdued. At the small reception afterward, a few beers in, an old mutual friend named Chloe leaned in close, her voice slurred slightly with nostalgia and drink. "I still can't believe you forgave Emily after what happened with Mark," she said. "What do you mean?" I asked, my stomach tightening. She blinked, looked at me. "You don't know?" That was the moment my world tilted, ever so slightly, on its axis. Chapter 2. Seeds of doubt. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding, brain spinning. The next day, I called Chloe. She was hesitant at first, then apologetic, and then the words came like a dam breaking. "Emily and Mark slept together, Danny, back in college, sophomore year. You and Emily had just started dating. It was one of those party nights. It wasn't just a kiss. Everyone knew. Everyone but me. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because you were happy. Because Emily made Mark promise never to speak of it. Because we figured she told you eventually. But she didn't. She never had. 20 years. 20 years of lies. And that one choice, that one night, was the foundation upon which we built a marriage, a family, a future." Chapter 3. The Investigation. I didn't confront Emily immediately. Instead, I started looking deeper. I pulled out old yearbooks, photos, journals. I dug through the attic and my own memories. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. Not because of just one night in college, but because I started seeing things that had always been there. Things I had ignored. Sudden business trips, her dismissiveness when I asked about her college years, a sense that she had secrets she never shared. What the investigator found was worse than I imagined. Emily hadn't just cheated on me before our marriage. She had continued to cheat, sporadically over the years, once with an old colleague, once with a neighbor who'd moved away mysteriously, and yes, even with Mark, again, after we were married. Twice. "She told me you were boring," Mark once said in a drunken email the investigator recovered, "that I was her escape from the life she never really wanted." Chapter 4. The Confrontation. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I waited until a quiet evening. The kids were at a friend's house. I made dinner like it was any other night, and then I placed the folder on the table. Photos, emails, transcripts, printouts. Emily froze. What is this?" "Proof," I said, "of everything you never told me." Her eyes filled with tears. "Danny, it was so long ago. We were young. I didn't know if we would last. I didn't want to ruin us by dredging it up." "You didn't ruin us now, Emily. You ruined us then." She tried to argue that she loved me, that the affairs meant nothing, that we built a life together. But her voice trembled under the weight of truth, and my silence was louder than any shout. Chapter 5. The Departure. I filed for divorce the next morning. The kids were shocked. I didn't tell them everything, just enough to make them understand it wasn't sudden nor rash. Emily begged me to reconsider. Therapy, counseling, time. But how do you rebuild trust on a fault line of deceit? How do you continue building a life knowing the very first brick was a lie? Epilogue. The letter months later, after the divorce finalized, I received a letter. It was from Mark's sister. Among his things, she had found a letter addressed to me, written 3 years ago. Mark had never sent it. Dan, if you're reading this, I guess something finally cracked. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I slept with Emily before you were married and again after. She said she was lonely. I believed her. I thought she'd leave you. She never did. I think part of her loved both of us, and none of us fully. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve this. He was right. The end? Maybe. Or maybe it's the beginning. Of a life no longer lived in shadows. Of a version of me no longer bound by loyalty to a lie. I learned too late that the past is never truly buried. But I walked away from the ruins, and for the first time in years, I'm walking towards something honest. 3 months after the divorce, just as I had begun to feel the first flickers of peace, morning walks with coffee, evenings reading books I never had time for, a message arrived in my inbox. No subject line, no signature. You don't know the whole story. Mark wasn't the only one. Attached. A scanned photo. Grainy. Old. It showed Emily, young, radiant, carefree, kissing a man I didn't recognize at some college party. The timestamp in the bottom corner read, May 1999. I stared at it for a long time. That was the month Emily and I officially became serious. I tried to shrug it off. But like everything else, it festered. Who sent it? What did they want? Why now? Chapter 7. Chloe's confession. I met with Chloe again, this time at a quiet coffee shop tucked into a forgotten corner of town. Did Emily have a pattern back then? I asked. She was complicated, Chloe said. She stirred her coffee too long. Her voice dropped. There was someone else, not just Mark. Who? Professor Ethan Caldwell. The name hit me like a punch. Caldwell had been a brilliant but scandal-tinged literature professor. He was later dismissed for inappropriate relationships, though no names were ever revealed. Emily? I asked, nearly whispering. I didn't say that, Chloe replied, eyes wide. But yes, and suddenly things began to connect. Emily's strange defensiveness whenever we talked about Caldwell. Her refusal to donate to the alumni fund when his name came up in the university newsletter. That old box she once threw out after we moved houses, marked freshman year. All signs missed, dismissed. Chapter 8. The Diary. That night I retrieved something I hadn't looked at in years. Emily's old journal. She used to write constantly. Most of it stopped after the kids were born, but buried in a dusty box. Of holiday decorations in the garage, I found one notebook she had forgotten. I shouldn't have read it, but I did. Ethan says he loves my mind. I think I believe him. I know it's wrong. I know Danny wouldn't understand. But when I'm with Ethan, I feel like someone. Mark's angry. He saw us. I don't know what to do. Danny wants to move in together. He's safe. He loves me. He'll never leave me. I need that. I stopped reading. She didn't choose me because she loved me. She chose me because I was safe. Because she believed I'd never ask too many questions. She was wrong. Chapter 9. The hidden bank account. In the weeks that followed, I had her finances re-examined, not out of malice, but instinct. The forensic accountant found something Emily had hidden from me for years. A separate account, opened 5 years into our marriage. Multiple deposits, unexplained transfers, but the strange part? Withdrawals, large ones, to a name I recognized, Noah Caldwell, Ethan Caldwell's son. I dug deeper. Noah was in his 20s now, recently arrested for possession, estranged from his father. And Emily had been sending him money for years. Was he hers? Chapter 10. The DNA testee asked my daughter Ella for a hairbrush. It was the hardest decision I ever made. My kids were everything. But I had to know. The test came back clear. Ella and I shared a full biological match. Relief surged. Then I tested our son, Luke. The result? 0% paternity probability. Chapter 11. The Reckoning. I confronted Emily again one final time. Her face went pale as snow. "I didn't know for sure," she said, voice trembling. "I always thought, but I hoped." "It was Ethan, wasn't it?" She nodded slowly. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you would have left, and I needed you. Luke needed a father, and you were so good. You never asked questions. You just loved." Tears fell from her eyes, but mine were dry. "You didn't want love. You wanted a lie that felt comfortable." She begged me not to tell Luke. Not yet. Not until she figured out what to say. But the damage was done. Epilogue. The new beginning. Today, Luke knows the truth. And strangely, he still calls me Dad, because biology doesn't erase years of late-night talks, scraped knees, baseball games, or tears wiped away. Emily, and I speak only when necessary. And the stranger who sent that photo never contacted me again. Maybe it was a ghost of the past ensuring I finally saw the whole picture. As for me, I've started writing again. Not journals, stories, truths dressed as fiction, fiction laced with truth. A quiet therapy. I've met someone, too. Her name is Claire. She knows everything, and still she stays, because this time the foundation is solid. No lies, no missing bricks, no hidden pasts waiting to detonate. Just the truth at last. She had the kind of presence that didn't demand a room, it invited it. Claire worked at the local library, a sanctuary of order and quiet. Our first conversation was about books. Not love, not loss, just stories, fictional ones. It was refreshing. She, read Graham Greene. Preferred handwritten letters to emails. Kept a Polaroid camera in her tote bag. She was different. After what I'd been through with Emily, I didn't trust easily. But Claire never pushed. She let me come to her. And so I did. Chapter 13. The Scar. She hid one night after dinner. I traced a thin scar across Claire's forearm. "What's this?" I asked. She hesitated, eyes searching mine. "A reminder," she said, "that sometimes survival leaves marks." She didn't elaborate, and I didn't push. But the curiosity stayed. Then one night I found her on the porch, pale, shaking, a letter clutched in her hands. "It's from him," she whispered. Chapter 14. The ex-husband Claire had been married once. Briefly. His name was Julian Voss, a man with a reputation for charm and cruelty. They divorced 5 years ago after she fled in the middle of the night with nothing but a suitcase and a bruised cheekbone. Julian had vanished after that, leaving only rumors in his wake. He resurfaced now with a letter. "I saw you. With him. I wonder if he knows you as well as I do." There was no return address. Just that. Chapter 15. Old patterns, I told myself. Not to worry, but I checked the locks twice that night, installed cameras the next morning, started watching for strange cars. I was no longer the man who ignored warning signs. Claire apologized quietly. Said she should have told me sooner. I didn't want to bring my shadows into your light, she said. We both have shadows, I replied. But we walk forward anyway. Still, the unease lingered. Then one evening, I came home to find Claire gone, and the front door slightly ajar. Chapter 16. The Note on the Mirror. There was no struggle. No overturned furniture. Just a note written on our bathroom mirror in red lipstick. You never really know someone. Ask her about Rachel. My hands trembled. As I dialed her number. Voicemail. I didn't know who Rachel was, but something told me I needed to. Chapter 17. The Hidden Folder. That night, I searched Claire's desk and found a USB drive labeled, "For When the Past Finds Me." I plugged it in. Inside was a folder of scanned documents, court records, medical reports, photos. Among them, a newspaper clipping from 2018, Rachel Adler missing, last seen with Julian Voss, former husband of Claire Voss, Rachel. Her younger sister, gone without a trace. Claire had never mentioned a sister. Chapter 18. The Reunion. 2 days later, Claire returned, bruised, exhausted, but alive. He found me, she said. I tried to run. He still thinks I know where she is. Do you? She looked at me with tired eyes. No, but I know what he did to her. Chapter 19. The confrontation with the help of a private investigator I still had on retainer from my own divorce fallout. We tracked Julian to a remote property in northern Vermont. I went there myself. I needed to see the monster. What I found was worse. Julian, seated calmly at a table waiting for me. You must be the hero, he said, smiling. You think you're saving her, but you don't know what she did. What are you talking about? He slid a file across the table. Inside, a signed affidavit from Rachel, years old, detailing how she and Claire had once tried to frame Julian for abuse. Said it was a scam for sympathy, donations, and a legal win. She's not the victim she pretends to be, but the signature, faded, messy, felt forged. Julian's smile was all teeth. You don't know who you're sleeping beside, friend. Chapter 20. The truth. Beneath back home, I confronted Claire. She didn't deny the document existed, but she insisted it wasn't true. Rachel was scared. She wrote that when he threatened to kill our mother. He forced her to write it. That's why she ran. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. But now I lived in a world where trust came slow. Epilogue. One final test, I hired a handwriting expert. Had the affidavit examined. 2 weeks passed. The result, forged. Rachel's signature had been lifted from a college application, manipulated onto the page. Julian had lied. Claire had told the truth. But the lesson stayed. Even the right person can carry a heavy past. We're still together, still trying, still healing. There's no fairy tale ending here. Just two people, wounded but willing, and sometimes that's enough. It came from a blocked number. A garbled voice, female, anxious and whispering, left a single sentence on Daniel's voicemail. You're looking in the wrong place. Rachel isn't dead. She's in Duxbury. No other information. No name. But Daniel felt it in his chest like a punch. Claire was asleep upstairs. He didn't wake her. Instead, he packed a bag, grabbed the USB drive, and drove. Duxbury was a quiet coastal town in Massachusetts, small, cold, and guarded by thick fog even in the daylight. If someone were hiding, it was the perfect place. Chapter 22. The woman at the bakery. He started with local businesses, showing Rachel's photo. A woman at a small bakery froze, just for a moment. She came in a few weeks ago, the woman said, called herself Elise, wore a scarf even when it wasn't cold. Daniel's heart jumped. "Do you know where she went?" She hesitated, then scribbled an address on a napkin. "I hope she's okay. She looked like someone who didn't sleep well." Chapter 23. The cabin in the dunes. Daniel found the place nestled behind sand dunes and pines, a cottage half sunk into the earth, its porch buried in dried leaves. He knocked. No answer. He knocked again. Then turned the knob. It was unlocked. Inside, silence. A single teacup on the table. An opened paperback face down on the couch. Fresh linens. Someone had been here recently. Then he saw it. A Polaroid taped to the fridge. 2 women. One of them was definitely Claire. The other, gaunt, older but unmistakable, Rachel. Alive. Chapter 24. The returned Daniel brought the photo back to Claire. She stared at it for a long time. "She's alive," she whispered. "Why would she stay hidden all these years?" Claire finally confessed the last piece of the puzzle. She saw Julian kill a girl. What? In 2017, a girl named Lydia Hart. Julian was spiraling, paranoid, violent. He thought Lydia was spying on him. She wasn't. She was just a waitress. He strangled her and buried the body in Vermont. Rachel saw it. She was next. And she's been running ever since. Claire nodded. Chapter 25. The map and the grave armed with this information, Daniel returned to Vermont with his investigator. They cross-referenced missing persons in the area. Lydia Hart, 19, waitress, last seen leaving her shift after midnight. Cold case, 8 years. Daniel found the land Julian once owned. It had been sold, but the investigator had old survey records. 1. Rainy morning, they dug, and they found her. Chapter 26. Arrest. The evidence was overwhelming. Dental records confirmed the body. DNA under the nails. A necklace engraved with LH. A shovel in Julian's former shed, still carrying trace soil from the grave site. Julian was arrested at a luxury apartment in Chicago, calm as ever. "Took you long enough," he said to the officers. When asked why he killed Lydia, his answer chilled everyone. "Because I could." Chapter 27. Rachel returns. She surfaced voluntarily once Julian was in custody. When Daniel met her, she barely spoke above a whisper. "I watched him bury her. I couldn't stop it. I thought, if I ran far enough, it would never catch up to me." "You saved yourself," Daniel said, "and now you've helped put him away forever." Claire embraced her sister like it was the first time she'd been allowed to breathe in years. Chapter 28. Closure. Julian was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life. Rachel changed her name again, moved out west, and began counseling trauma survivors. She and Claire spoke weekly. Daniel? He stayed. He and Claire never called what they had perfect. But it was real, built on scars, built on truth, not fantasy. And that was more than enough. Final chapter. The letter from Emily, months later. A letter arrived addressed to Daniel. The handwriting was familiar. Emily. "You always were better at putting puzzles together than I gave you credit for. I heard what happened. I hope you're happy in your way. I'm remarried now. To someone simple, someone boring. I never cheated. After you. Funny, isn't it? Maybe I just needed to learn what I'd broken. Maybe I never will. But I'll always wonder, what if I hadn't lied back then? Take care, Daniel. You deserved better." He read it once, then burned it. The town of Wickford hadn't changed. The harbor still caught the sunrise like glass, and the old coffee shop still overcharged for bitter espresso. But Daniel Adler had changed. He now ran a private investigation firm, Adler and Associates, nestled in a modest office near the water. His specialty? Cold cases, disappearances, unspoken truths. Irony, he thought, that his gift for spotting lies now served others. Claire worked with at-risk teens at a local outreach center. She never talked much about the years with Julian, not in public, not even in private. But Rachel's weekly video calls brought a brightness to her eyes that Daniel cherished. Rachel now lived in Santa Fe. She painted. Landscapes, mostly. Some sold, most didn't. But that wasn't the point. She was alive. She was free. Until the envelope arrived, it was a Tuesday when Daniel found it, on the floor beneath the office mail slot. No return address. Cream-colored. Envelope. Inside, a single page. Typed, crisp. You missed one. Attached was a black-and-white photo. A girl, maybe 16, blonde, afraid, standing outside Julian's estate. Stamped on the back, Wickford. July 2015. No name. No other message. Daniel turned cold. Claire's panic. When Daniel showed Claire the photo, her hands trembled. She sank into a chair and stared for nearly a minute before whispering, "Her name was Hannah Bell. I never told you about her because I thought she got away." Got away from what? Julian. He brought her to a dinner once. Said she was the daughter of a friend. But I saw the bruises. I tried to ask her if she needed help. She just shook her head. Then she disappeared a week later. Julian told me she'd gone back to Florida, but I never saw her again. Digging deeper, Daniel pulled everything he could find. There was a missing persons report, filed by an aunt in Georgia, Hannah Bell. 16. Went to Wickford to stay with her godfather. Disappeared without a trace. The case had gone cold. No leads. Until now. Daniel reached out to his best contact in digital forensics, a reclusive ex-hacker named Leo, who owed him a favor. 3 days later, Leo called. "You need to see this." He'd decrypted a section of Julian's old encrypted archives from a server Julian used to run offshore accounts and keep other files. Inside were surveillance photos, documents, videos, girls. Hannah was among them. The buy. Ring Julian hadn't acted alone. Leo traced financial transactions, wire transfers, encrypted messages routed through shell companies, hotel records, and one name kept surfacing, Elliot Vance, a name Daniel remembered well. Didn't Vance disappear in '09? Corporate enforcer, fixer, allegedly killed 2 whistleblowers. He's not just alive, Leo said. He's active, and he was helping Julian supply miners to elite clients. There's a whole network. Claire overheard it and froze. "If Vance is still out there," she said, "he won't let us shut this down." "He'll come for anyone who talks," Daniel nodded grimly. "Then we don't talk. We hunt." The final frame. Daniel locked the office late that night. The moonlight spilled onto his desk, illuminating the photo of Hannah Bell. He pinned it beside one of Julian, then added a third photo, grainy, taken from security footage in Prague just months ago. Elliot Vance, older, smirking, holding a wine glass. At the bottom of the corkboard, Daniel scribbled 5 words. "This isn't over." Not yet. As he turned off the lights, a camera across the street blinked red. Watching, recording, someone was already waiting. Rachel lived in a sun-soaked adobe bungalow at the edge of the desert, where brushfire winds swept through every morning and coyotes sang at dusk. Her art had changed, darker, colder. Gone were the blue mesas and open skies. Now she painted windows with faces behind them, girls with hollow eyes, and doors slightly ajar. One evening, after finishing a piece she couldn't quite explain, she opened her email and found an anonymous message. "He had a child. She doesn't know, but she should. Look under the floor." Attached was a photo of Julian Hale, younger. He had his arm around a pregnant woman. Rachel had never seen her before. Her stomach twisted, the floorboard. The next day, Rachel returned to the old Wickford house, now a vacation rental. She'd arranged a visit under the pretense of retrieving forgotten personal items. Claire met her there. "The place still smells like him," Rachel muttered, running her fingers along the edge of the hallway. She remembered the dreams, the cold footsteps, the tapping in the walls, and then she found it, a warped floorboard beneath the library desk. When she pried it up, there was a locked metal box inside, rusted, heavy. Claire knelt beside her. "Do you want to open it?" "No," Rachel said. "I need to." Inside, the box birth certificates, letters, a photo of a baby girl swaddled in a hospital blanket. On the back, Julian had scribbled a name, Elena, 2006. And then Rachel's heart stopped. There was a note addressed to her. "Rachel, if you're reading this, then the world has changed. Or perhaps you have. I made mistakes, too many. But you should know there was someone else, a child. I didn't abandon her. I was trying to protect her. She's hidden. Just like the truth about you was once hidden from me. If you want to find her, follow the ledger. Forgive me if you can. J." Claire sank into the chair, pale. "Elena. I remember him mentioning her once. I thought she was a lie to manipulate me. Maybe she was. But now she's real. And missing." The ledger Leo pulled the ledger from the old Hale family safe in the Caymans. It was encrypted, but the code was based on Julian's favorite poem, one Claire recognized instantly. Inside, the transactions were clear. Regular wire transfers to a remote trust in Belize under the name E. Velez. Daniel narrowed his eyes. He was paying someone, keeping them hidden, probably the mother and the girl. But the payments stopped 6 months ago. "That's when Julian died," Rachel whispered. "Which means, if they're still alive, they're out there without protection. And if Elliot Vance found out, first, the hunt." Begins Claire made the call. Rachel packed her bags. And Daniel? He updated the corkboard. 3 new photos went up. Elena's baby picture, a scanned passport for Eve Velez, a blurry surveillance image from Belize, a teenage girl boarding a boat, eyes wide, clutching a canvas sketchbook. Vance is hunting her too. But so are they. Final scene, Belize dockside. Midnight. The girl sat on the edge of the dock, drawing quietly under moonlight. Her sketchpad showed a woman's face, strong, elegant, like Rachel's. A man in a suit stood a few feet behind her, silent. He wore a silver cufflink, a scar above, his left eyebrow, Elliot Vance. He smiled without warmth and said, "Hello, Elena. It's time we talked about your father." And then, a gun cocked in the darkness. Daniel stepped forward. "Not tonight, Vance." The moon cast silver over the harbor, waves lapping at the wooden dock like an anxious metronome. Elena froze, her hand tightening around the sketchpad. Elliot Vance didn't move. His eyes never left Daniel. "Still playing Detective Adler? Still playing Predator, Vance?" Vance smiled faintly. "You don't know what you're protecting. That girl, she's not what you think." Claire stepped from the shadows, gun raised. "Try us." Vance turned his gaze on her. "Ah, Claire, always loyal, until it gets inconvenient. I learned that trick from you people." Her voice was ice. A dangerous offer. Vance raised both, hands in mock surrender, but his tone never lost its confidence. "Let me leave, and I'll give you what you want. The other names, the full list, Julian's clients, the men who helped him, politicians, CEOs. One of them sits in your Senate now. This goes deeper than your grief." Daniel didn't blink. "And in return, you leave the girl. You walk away. You let her grow up clean, untouched by this filth." "I made sure she never saw the worst of Julian. I kept her safe." Rachel stepped forward, voice trembling. "You don't get to define safety." Elena looked between them all, wide-eyed. Someone tell me what the hell is going on. Revelation. Rachel knelt beside her and opened the sketch pad. The top drawing. A woman's face. Rachel's face. Elena stared. I've been drawing her since I was 6. I don't know why. Rachel's voice cracked. Because I'm your sister. We share a father, Julian Hale. Silence dropped like a curtain. Elena's mouth moved without sound. Then she whispered, My mother said he was dead. She said he used to hurt people. He did, Daniel said softly. But you're not him. You don't carry his sins. Claire kept her eyes on Vance. But some people do. Vance's escape. Then came the flash. A stun grenade thrown from behind the crates. A sharp crack split the night. Elena screamed. Claire fired once. Daniel dove toward the girl, shielding her. Smoke clouded the air. When it cleared, Vance was gone. Only a single item remained on the dock where he'd stood. A flash drive. Daniel picked it up. The label, Eyes Only, for Rachel. The drive back in the hotel, they gathered around the laptop. The file auto-launched. First, a video, Julian Hale, looking older, gaunter in a dimly lit room. Rachel, if Vance gave this to you, I suppose it means the lies have unraveled. Elena is my daughter, but she's also a safeguard, a living vault. I put things in motion long ago, things even Vance couldn't stop. She holds the key. Not to money, not to names, to why. There's something buried beneath the Wickford house. The original estate. Before the renovation, dig and protect her, because they'll come for her next. The video cut out. Static legacy. Daniel exhaled. This doesn't end here. Rachel nodded. We need to go back. Claire looked at Elena, who stood silent at the window, watching the waves roll in. She's not just Hale's daughter, Claire said. She's the only one who can end what he started. Next, the return to Wickford. The next chapter takes us back to the roots, the hidden basement of the original Hale estate, long buried beneath layers of concrete, secrets, and sins. Whatever lies below isn't just a vault of records. It's a final confession, one that could either destroy everything or finally bring justice. Wickford Estate, 3:17 a.m. A rusted chain-link gate hung crooked at the entrance of what once was the Hale family estate. The main house had been torn down years ago, replaced by modern condos. But on the far end of the property stood a dilapidated gardener's shed, untouched, forgotten. Daniel shined his flashlight across the cracked cement floor inside. This is where it was, he muttered. The original foundation, Claire confirmed. Julian's childhood home sat right on top. Elena stood in the doorway, sketchbook clutched to her chest like armor. Rachel knelt, brushing dust away. This isn't just a hiding place, it's a tomb. They pried up a trap door, hidden beneath warped plywood. A ladder descended into darkness. The basement. The air was thick, metallic, like old blood. They descended into a concrete bunker. Walls, lined with file cabinets, old audio reels, and reels of 8mm film. In the center of the room, a rusted table, and on it, a single item under glass, a manila folder marked Opal Project. Daniel opened it. Inside, photos, dozens. Children in institutional settings, faces blurred, medical notes, birth records. Rachel flipped through pages, her voice hollow. These weren't just victims. They were subjects. What kind of monster was Julian? Claire whispered. Elena stepped forward and pulled out a photo. That's her, she whispered. My mother. The note attached. Subject 004, gene line variant, implanted via donor. Rachel's heart stopped. He created her. He engineered her. Daniel. A legacy experiment. The door with no handle. At the far end of the bunker, behind a false wall, they found it. A steel door, no handle, no keyhole, just a fingerprint scanner. Long dead. Claire stepped back. That's military grade. Daniel examined the wiring. It's not power dead. It's locked biologically. Elena touched it without hesitation. The light flickered, turned green. Click. The door swung open with a mechanical groan. Inside, a single chair, a desk, a cassette recorder, a camera facing the chair. Claire hit play. This is Julian Hale, day 1 of Final Confessional. If you're listening to this, then the lies have failed, and the girl has found her way home. Julian's voice, cassette recording. I did things. For power, for ego, for men who promised the world and delivered war. Elena wasn't born of love. She was born of design, a child bred to be invisible, trackless, immune to control. She's not a weapon. She's a fail-safe for everything I did and everything they might still do. And if Vance is still alive, he'll try to use her. But she's the only one who can shut it all down. The servers, the accounts, the network. I made her that way. Tell her I'm sorry. And if she still draws, tell her I saw the stars in her lines. Click. Silence. Elena sat down in the chair. Her sketchbook slipped from her hands. I wasn't even born to be me, she said. Rachel knelt beside her, cupping her face. You're more human than he ever was, and you get to choose who you become. Meanwhile, in a sleek hotel suite in Zurich, Elliot Vance watched a monitor flash with new activity. An alert blinked red. Opal DNA key. Match detected. Location. Wickford. He stood slowly, pulling out his phone. Mobilize the team. Tell the others she's activated. What about the others? A voice asked on the line. Vance smiled coldly. Let them burn. This ends where it began. Next, the network awakens. The world is no longer safe. Vance is coming. The secret child of Julian Hale now holds the keys to a buried intelligence operation, one that could bring down global power brokers or be weaponized beyond imagination. Will Elena choose to destroy the network or use it? Will Vance catch them before they run? And what else did Julian bury beneath his empire of lies? Elena sat in the narrow window of a safe house, sketching the same figure over and over, a child standing on the edge of a cliff, arms outstretched, uncertain if they meant to fly or fall. Behind her, the rest of the team gathered around a rugged laptop. Rachel, Daniel, and Claire had spent the last day decrypting the contents of the drive Julian left behind, and what they found was worse than they imagined. The Opal network, Opal, wasn't just a legacy project. It was a self-sustaining surveillance. AI trained on hundreds of thousands of genetic blueprints, financial data, and behavioral patterns. It could track, analyze, and predict future actions of individuals with staggering accuracy. Worse, the network was still active, buried behind servers hosted by shell companies tied to pharmaceutical and tech giants across Europe, Asia, and the States. Julian Hale hadn't just created a monster. He'd built a god disguised as a ghost. It doesn't just monitor, Daniel said, voice low. It manipulates, trade markets, elections, medical records. It can make someone disappear, digitally and physically. Claire leaned forward. And Elena is the back door. Rachel turned to her sister. If we shut it down, it'll trigger every silent partner Julian ever had. Vance, politicians, CEOs. If they know it's you, they'll never stop hunting you. Elena looked at her own reflection in the glass. Then let's give them something to hunt. The plan the group divided the network into 5 primary data nodes, each buried in separate cities: Prague, Stockholm, Geneva, Seoul, and New York. Each node required 2 layers of access: one biometric, Elena's DNA, One cognitive, a rotating string of phrases Julian implanted in her subconscious using sketches and childhood lullabies. They couldn't shut down the whole system at once. It had to be killed node by node or it would reboot. "You're saying we need to walk into each one of these?" Claire asked. "Yes," Daniel said, "and we won't be the only ones heading there." Because Elliot Vance had reappeared. Zurich, Vance's interrogation room Vance, stood across from a trembling former Hale associate named Dr. Lenore Barlow, the neurolinguist who helped train Elena when she was young. Where would she go first? She always drew cities, bridges, water. Prague came up the most. There's something about the Vltava River. Vance leaned in. Then we start there. Behind him, a shadowy man nodded. His name was Kieran, ex-intelligence, now Vance's. Enforcer. Silent. Precise. Efficient. "We don't kill her," Vance said coldly. "We extract her. The system only listens to her." "And if she refuses?" Kieran asked. "Then we build another. But not before we see what she's truly capable of." Prague. The first strike. That night, Elena, Rachel, and Claire slipped into the ancient catacombs beneath the Strahov Monastery, where Julian's Prague node was buried. The door required a song, one Rachel remembered from childhood. "Close your eyes, draw the moon, feel the sky begin to bloom." The scanner blinked green. Inside, a terminal awaited. Elena placed her hand on the panel and whispered, "Delete authorization. Codename Orion." Voice match confirmed. Biometric. Confirmed. Prague node terminated. A flicker in the lights. Then, darkness. Rachel exhaled. "One down." Suddenly, Claire's comm cracked. "We've got movement. 3 vehicles, no plates. They found us." Daniel's voice cut in. "Get out. Now. I'll cover extraction." Chase. Through Prague gunfire echoed through the stone tunnels. Claire grabbed Elena's hand and sprinted. "Rachel, go! We split at the corner!" Kieran's men descended like shadows, but Daniel was waiting. 2 shots, 1 body fell. "Go!" he shouted. "I'll catch up." Elena looked back only once, just enough to see Vance standing at 2. The tunnel entrance, smiling calmly. "You can't run forever," he said. She didn't reply. She just ran. Outside, by the Vltava River. They surfaced near the Charles Bridge. Sirens echoed in the distance. Claire's jacket was soaked in blood. Someone else's. Rachel collapsed beside Elena. "You sure you're ready to finish this?" Elena looked toward the stars, breath steaming in the cold. "No. But I'm not Julian Hale's legacy. I'm what he never expected. A choice." She flipped open her sketchbook and drew a door. Next, the second node. Stockholm, the clock is ticking. 1 node down, 4 to go. Vance is closing in. And someone inside Daniel's circle may not be what they seem, because as Elena moves closer to unlocking her full memory, fragments of something else begin to surface. A final message from Julian, buried in her mind. Not to warn her, but to control her. The air was frigid. Snow layered the rooftops like a burial shroud. Beneath the city's surface, inside a sub-basement of a decommissioned metro station, Node 2 pulsed like a silent heart. Elena stood at the center of it. The access terminal required more than just her handprint this time. It required a sequence of symbols, geometric sketches she hadn't drawn since she was 9. Rachel handed her the journal. "He embedded the access codes in your childhood drawings, didn't he?" Elena nodded slowly. "Not just access codes, triggers. Every symbol opens a memory I don't remember making." As her fingers traced the terminal's shape, a flash burst through her mind. A memory not of Julian, but of someone else. A woman, the woman with silver eyes. She was in a white room, 8 years old, crying. The woman stood across from her, holding a toy kaleidoscope. Do you know what this does? Elena shook her head. It teaches you that the world is only as real as the angle you look from. She whispered something else, a phrase Elena hadn't remembered until now. The second key is grief, but the third is choice. Elena stumbled back from the terminal. There was another architect, someone besides Julian. Claire raised a brow. You sure? She was part of it. She knew about the keys. Julian wasn't alone when he made me. The betrayal. Within that night, as the team set up to disable the Stockholm node, Daniel received an encrypted ping. From a secure satellite line, only 2 people in the world had that frequency. Julian Hale was one of them. The other was Vance. Daniel hesitated. Claire caught the look. You're hiding something? He didn't answer. But the next morning, Rachel found him gone, along with Elena's backup copy of the Prague shutdown sequence. He's either been compromised, Rachel said grimly, or he always was. An unexpected ally, just before dawn, a stranger entered their hideout. He was tall, lean, dressed in civilian gear, and he didn't raise a weapon. Name's Sawyer. And you are? Claire asked, gun still drawn. Used to work with Vance, till I saw what he was building. He handed Rachel a flash drive. Your system's only part of it. Vance and Hale weren't just building a surveillance AI, they were engineering choice itself, a neurological conditioning protocol called Project Loki. Claire narrowed her eyes. And why should we trust you? Sawyer didn't blink. Because if you don't shut this node down within the next 4 hours, it'll reroute and protect the others permanently. And if that happens, there is no escape for Elena. Or any of you. The descent, they moved underground, into the frozen tunnels beneath the station. Elena trembled, not from cold, but from the pull of another memory awakening. She touched the wall, water, screaming. A child submerged, she gasped. He made me forget. Not just the lab, my mother. Rachel froze. Elena, your mother died when you were little. No, she whispered. That's what Julian told me. Inside the node chamber, Elena found the final sketch she'd drawn at age 10, preserved digitally on the terminal. It showed 2 doors. One black, one white, each marked with the same name, Elena Hale. Choose one, the system said. What is this? Claire demanded. It's a cognitive fork, Sawyer said quietly. She has to choose which version of herself lives. The choice, Elena stepped forward. No. No? The system echoed. I'm not choosing one version, I'm choosing myself. The real me. The one neither of you, Julian or the woman, ever created. She placed both hands on the console and whispered, I revoke authorship. The terminal exploded in a bloom of light, then black. Aftermath. When Elena came to, the Stockholm node was dark. She'd disabled it, but something else had activated. From the static on Claire's comm, a voice emerged. 2 down, my dear, but what happens when you find out the third architect isn't dead? It was Vance. The woman with silver eyes, Elena whispered. Alive, and she wants you back. To be continued. Elena's quest to dismantle the system isn't just a battle against a machine, it's a battle against the architects who built her, who stole her life piece by piece and called it science. Daniel has vanished. Vance is closing in. And the woman with silver eyes, the third architect, is waiting in the shadows of Geneva. The city was still asleep when they arrived at the underground vault, an old banking district converted into a high-tech fortress. Node 3 pulsed from within the concrete skeleton, nestled behind layers of encrypted defenses. Elena felt the weight of it. This would be the hardest node to shut down. But it wasn't just the technology, it was the memories, the truth she hadn't dared face yet. In the quiet of the vault's entrance, Rachel, Claire, and Elena prepared. Sawyer was already inside, infiltrating the facility's communications network. "This node is more complex," Sawyer murmured, through the comms. "But I'll have the outer defenses down in 20 minutes. Elena, there's something you need to know. The third architect, she's not just a ghost. She's not just a woman from your past." Elena closed her eyes. "What? Is she then?" "She's your sister, Elena." The words hit her like a punch to the stomach. She staggered back, gripping the edge of a pillar to steady herself. Rachel's voice crackled through the earpiece. "Sawyer, are you sure?" He didn't hesitate. Julian Hale was obsessed with creating the perfect human, and he wasn't doing it alone. This woman, she didn't just raise you. She was your mother's replacement. Your family was a design. Elena's chest tightened. "So the mother I remember, she was a lie?" Sawyer's voice softened, a rare crack in his usually cold demeanor. "The real architect was never Hale. It was her, Mira." The woman in the shadows. The vault door clicked open. They were in. But Elena's mind was elsewhere, drifting between the past and the present. The woman in the mirror. She had always stood behind Elena, silent, looming, a part of her life she had never questioned. A woman who looked like her mother, but wasn't. The one who whispered the lullabies, who carried her to bed when she was sick, who disappeared the moment Elena turned 18. And now, Elena knew. The third architect wasn't just the mastermind behind her own creation. She had been Elena's shadow, her perfect reflection in a world that didn't know the difference between truth and illusion. In the core of the Node days, Elena, Rachel, and Claire made their way to the core of Node 3. The temperature dropped. The vault felt like a crypt, frozen, dark, and dead. Inside, the terminal stood like an altar. Elena approached it slowly. The air hummed with static, a memory locked inside the machine. Elena's fingers hesitated over the keypad, and then, from the shadows, a voice, soft but unmistakable. "Do you remember me?" Elena froze. The woman stepped into the dim light. It was Mira. Her face was older, sharper, but still hauntingly familiar. You're not real," Elena whispered. Her voice trembling, Mira smiled, her eyes cold and calculating. "Real? Oh, darling. You've been chasing shadows for so long, you've forgotten how to see the light." The truth revealed. Mira stepped closer, her heels clicking against the concrete floor. She wasn't here to stop them. She was here to speak, to reveal everything. "Your life, Elena, was never your own. Julian made sure of that. He wanted to know how far he could push the human mind before it broke. You were his experiment, a perfect child, a perfect family." Elena's mind raced. "And you were just another experiment?" Mira's smile faltered for a moment before she regained her composure. "No, I was something better. Julian couldn't create me the way he created you. I was the imprint, the one who taught you everything, love, memory, loss. You remember your mother? She didn't die in a car accident, Elena. She was erased, a casualty of Julian's plan. Your mother never left you. He made sure she would be replaced." Elena's breath caught. "You..." Mira nodded slowly. "I was the one who made sure you didn't remember, the one who taught you to forget again and again. I planted those memories, Elena, the ones of your mother, the ones that felt real but weren't." Elena took a step back, shaken by the revelation. "You didn't raise me. You just reprogrammed me." Mira's voice turned colder. "Don't be naive. You were always more than an experiment to me. I needed you, Elena, just like Julian needed you. We were always going to be together, whether you wanted to or not. The choice that was never yours." Mira raised her hand, and the terminal in front of Elena flickered to life. It's time to finish what you started, Elena. Shut it down and finally choose. The calm before the storm. The team stood outside the underground complex, the oppressive silence of Geneva's darkened streets surrounding them. Rachel, Claire, and Elena all had one thing in common now. They were no longer bound by the past. But they still didn't know what to do with their newfound freedom. The air was heavy, thick with unspoken words. Elena knew the stakes had shifted. They weren't just shutting down a network. They were dismantling everything that had shaped her life. She glanced at the horizon, where the first light of dawn began to seep into the skyline, casting shadows that made the world appear unreal. "Where to now?" Rachel asked, her voice low, cautious. Elena didn't have an answer. She'd never felt this uncertain in her life. "The final node," Claire said, her voice oddly calm, betraying none of the panic Elena felt inside. "We need to go after it. We've torn down the network, but there's one more piece, and you know it's waiting for you." Elena nodded. She'd been preparing for this moment, but it felt more like a sentence than an opportunity. The final node. The last connection to the man who had orchestrated everything, the man who had played with her life, with her memories, and with the lives of those around her. The long road to the node. The team's journey took them deep into the mountains. Far from the city's artificial structures, they found themselves in a desolate landscape where even the air seemed heavier, like the earth itself was holding its breath. As they moved forward, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking directly into a trap. The final node wasn't just an abstract piece of technology, it was the heart of everything, the last remaining thread that connected her to the world of lies she had been part of for so long. "Sawyer's inside, waiting for us," Rachel said, glancing over at Elena. Her face was grim, determined. "He's already cracked the first layer of security. It's just a matter of getting through the rest." Elena felt her pulse quicken. The closer they got to the node, the closer they came to everything they had been running from. The node's heart. The building housing the final node was a fortress in every sense of the word. A massive structure hidden deep beneath the mountains. Its walls lined with encrypted security systems and heavily guarded by automated drones. They approached cautiously, but Elena's mind was already racing with questions. "This is it," Elena whispered as they stood in front of the reinforced doors. "Once we go in, there's no turning back." Claire, standing beside her, hesitated. For a moment, her eyes betraying something Elena had never seen before. Doubt. "What are you really going to do when we shut this down, Elena?" Claire asked, her voice laced with a rare vulnerability. "What happens next?" Elena took a deep breath, her hand resting on the cool metal of the door. "I don't know. I never did." The descent into the core. The doors to the final node creaked open. Inside, the air was sterile, cold, lifeless, as though time had stopped. They moved through the halls silently, the echo of their footsteps muffled by the vast emptiness around them. At the heart of the facility, a single terminal stood, bathed in an eerie glow. Sawyer was already there, working with a set of complicated devices. He looked up as Elena entered, his expression unreadable. "You've made it," he said, as if he had expected this moment for years. This is it, the end. The final node's screen flickered to life, and Elena could feel the weight of it pressing on her. The truth. It was all here, all of it, everything that had been hidden, everything she had forgotten, everything she had been forced to believe. "Are you ready?" Sawyer asked. The question hung in the air, unanswered. Elena could only stare at the screen, her heart pounding in her chest. The truth in the code. The terminal hummed, and Elena reached for the keyboard. Her fingers moved slowly over the keys, but before she could hit the shutdown command, the screen shifted. Error. Unauthorized access. What the hell? Elena muttered, stepping back. I thought we were inside. Sawyer's eyes widened. We are, or we should be. Something's not right. And then the screen blinked once more, this time revealing a message that made Elena's blood run cold. I knew you'd come for me. It's too late. The message was signed, Julian Hale. The final confrontation, before Elena could process. The lights dimmed. The room shifted, the walls closing in as the system's alarms blared to life. No! Elena shouted. It can't be! He's dead! Sawyer didn't have time to answer. A loud crash echoed, and the doors to the control room slammed shut, trapping them inside. Elena's heart raced as the walls began to pulse with red light, signaling the activation of the final security protocol. We're running out of time, Rachel said, her voice tight. We have to get out. This is a trap. He's not dead. He's never been dead. Mira stepped out of the shadows, her presence both a shock and an inevitability. Elena's heart skipped a beat, the weight of the moment hitting her with the force of a freight train. Mira, what the hell is going on? Why? Elena's voice cracked, but she steeled herself. There was no turning back now. Mira's lips curled into a knowing smirk. She wasn't the same woman Elena had once trusted, loved, and fought beside. The cool, calculating version standing before her was a far cry from the woman who had once been a partner in every sense. You've never understood, have you? Mira's voice was soft, almost condescending. I've always been the one, pulling the strings. Not Julian, not Sawyer. Me. Rachel and Claire stood behind Elena, their expressions torn between disbelief and a simmering rage, but neither of them moved forward. They could feel the gravity of the moment. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about unraveling everything Elena thought she knew. You've been lying to me all along, haven't you? Elena's eyes narrowed, the pieces of the puzzle finally snapping into place. You were never truly on my side. Mira's laugh was dark and unsettling, echoing through the sterile room like a song of doom. You always were a pawn in this game, Elena, but you were never meant to win. Not really. She took a step closer. And now you'll see what happens when the pieces stop moving. The walls of the room hummed again, the security systems shifting as if in response to Mira's presence. Elena's hand instinctively reached for the gun she had hidden beneath her jacket, but Mira's smile grew wider, mocking. You won't be able to escape, Elena. It's over, Mira continued, her voice slow and steady. We've already won. The true architect Elena's thoughts raced. Mira's always been behind this, she thought. But how? Her mind snapped to the truth. Mira had been the architect of everything, the betrayal, the web of lies, the manipulation that had begun before Elena even knew she was being drawn into it. Julian wasn't the mastermind, was he? Elena whispered, the realization striking like a thunderclap. Mira's gaze was unflinching as she nodded. No, he wasn't. He was just a tool. A very useful one, but a tool nonetheless. I needed him to believe he was in control. He was good at playing the part. She paused, letting the words sink in. But I always knew how to get what I wanted. You just weren't paying attention. Elena's anger flared. It felt like a burning fire in her chest, her body trembling with the weight of all the years of deception, of everything Mira had done to her. She had been a fool to trust her. A fool to think that Mira could ever be a friend. Why, Mira? After everything we've been through? Elena's voice wavered, though her determination was stronger than ever. Mira's expression shifted, just for a moment, from cruel confidence to something far colder, something dangerous. Because you're weak, Elena. Always have been. You let your emotions cloud your judgment, and that's where I thrived. You thought you could build a life after your perfect little marriage, after that beautiful, tragic love story. You thought you could find peace, happiness. But peace isn't a commodity. Power is. And power is something I've been collecting my entire life. The final truth shattered everything Elena thought she knew. Her perfect life, the image of stability, love, and trust. It had all been a fabrication. Every choice she made, every decision that led her here, had been shaped by Mira's unseen hand. The revelation as Mira spoke, Elena's gaze drifted to the terminal, where the words, "Error, unauthorized access," flashed. She realized with sudden clarity what had happened, what Mira had been doing behind the scenes. "You hacked the system, didn't you?" Elena whispered. "You were controlling everything from the start." Mira's eyes flickered with amusement. "It wasn't just the system. I was controlling you, your emotions, your relationships. Your marriage was never about love. It was about power. You didn't think I knew, but I knew everything. Every weakness, every doubt. And I made sure you'd never see the truth." Elena's world felt like it was crumbling around her. Her marriage to David, her time with Claire, even the years she had spent building something that felt so real. It had all been a lie, meticulously constructed by Mira, a puppet master who had pulled every string. "But this was never about just you, Elena," Mira continued, her voice dripping with venom. "It was about him, Julian Hale. He was never just your past. He was a part of my future. And now, with the final node, I can make sure none of you ever stand in my way again."